Welcome to Grit, the Real Estate Growth Mindset podcast, hosted by Brian Charlesworth, founder of Sisu. Sisu provides growth automation software for real estate. You'll hear stories from real estate thought and technology leaders, team owners, and brokers on how they grew their business in a rapidly changing industry. You'll learn how to transform your brokerage and teams into a high-performing and analytics-driven business so you have a new, durable, competitive advantage against disruption in your market. So let's get right into it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Brian Charlesworth. I'm the founder of Sisu. Sisu is a growth automation software for real estate, and I'm your host. And today I have a special guest on the show, Jeff Quintin. Jeff is the CEO of the Quintin Group. He has been in Gary Keller's mastermind for a number of years now. I want to get into that a little bit today. And something that I want to spend even more time on today is that Jeff somehow was able to acquire a brokerage this year underneath his team. So Jeff, you want to just give us a quick background on you and how you got into the real estate business?
Yeah, no, certainly. Thank you, Brian, for having me on. I appreciate it. It's an honor. Got into the real estate business in 1992. So I've been around quite a bit of time now, about 28 years. Got into business directly out of high school. And so that's all I really know is how to sell real estate. And live and work in Ocean City, New Jersey, which is primarily a vacation resort secondary market. And we cover the areas as far as our hub here at home, areas between, like, if you're familiar with Southern New Jersey, from about Atlantic City all the way down to Cape May. Then we cover the mainland side as well. And then we've then, as you mentioned earlier, we've expanded into the Carolinas and the Outer Banks, and we've got some expansion partners locally in our area here, in other counties, also Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So that's basically kind of the gist of it.
Okay, great. Well, let's just dive right in, because I think it's extremely interesting that here you are in New Jersey, and now you're saying, hey, we acquired this business. I'm operating another, not team, but brokerage down in the Carolinas. How did this all come about? And I think it's fascinating and likely an opportunity for some of those other teams out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think this opportunity is coming more and more and more as independent brokerages or owners want to exit the business, or maybe they're not, their sales team isn't driving is the level that they want. So how did this all come about? So basically at the time, our expansion director that was expanding with us was very good friends with the owner of this business. They grew up, or their kids grew up together. And this owner lives currently still in Pittsburgh. So he's actually an absentee owner of this company in the Outer Banks. And the Outer Banks is a secondary resort vacation home market, very similar to our hub. So that business itself has basically there's 6 offices. And inside of that, they have 2 divisions. They have the rental division, vacation rentals, which is a lot of weekly rentals, and then sales division. The sales division hasn't always been what it seemed to be their top priority. It's more of their vacation rentals, which vacation rentals down there is huge, right? They do about 8,000 leases a summer. Their sales team was also a thriving sales team and doing well, but their focus was more on the rental side than the sales team side. So long story short, this is a 32-year-long company, well established in the Outer Banks. The owner said, they were watching their sales team, some agents, their top producing agents, leave them. Agents weren't really, Keller Williams came in, a couple other companies, Howard Hanna came in, a couple others, and these other opportunities were out there for the salespeople to leave and go to other places. So this owner of the company said, you know what, my sales team isn't doing as great. I need someone that can run a sales team. I need someone that can take this over and help grow it and retain it and so forth. So our expansion director, Bob, at the time, was friends with the owner, and we kind of connected together and decided that we're going to come in and take their sales team over, their sales portion. So we came in, and basically there's 24 agents. We operate physically out of 2 of their 6 office locations. We can go in and out of their offices, but our physical space is in 2 of those. And then we brought in these 24 agents, licenses in the KW through the Quintin Group. So we own it and operate their business in the Outer Banks. There are KW agents, and they're working in what would be like 2 mega agent offices outside of the market center. So it's been exciting, and so this all Basically, acquired was basically September 1st, and then transition time this last 3 months has been going on, and we're about through all that good stuff with licenses transfers and getting everybody over, and looking forward to a boom in 2020.
Okay, great. So how did you have 24 agents? If I understand you correctly, you had 24 agents down in the Carolinas already?
Yeah, that's how many there were that came over. There was, I think, 26 maybe or 27, and when the acquisition came in, we lost 2 or 3 of them in that process. Not that we lost them. One decided to retire. One was just a developer, but held his license there. And one, I don't know, wasn't a regular full-time agent.
Okay, got it. All right. So how, talk to us about your team. So how, what's your volume, what's your units up in Jersey, and then what is that now in the Carolinas? So we
Sure.
can understand what you guys do.
Yeah. So, I mean, our hub business here, this year we do around 80 million or so. We'll close out this year around 240 transactions, around 85 million total. That includes some little bit of expansion. Really doesn't include the Outer Banks because we're just starting that right now. And then, so that's kind of our hub-based business here. We just brought on 2 new agents. So our goal is to get us at the hub over 100 million next year. And then the Outer Banks itself, they'll be somewhere this year around 130, 135 units closed for the year, and just about around 60 million or so. And our goal next year is to obviously get that up higher, get it closer to 200 units with getting the current agents in higher production and then recruit to it. So ultimately the goal would be at least 100 million here at home, and then get that business to be at least 100 million as well. But more or less, that's probably going to be closer to, I would say, between 75 and 80 million or so. And then as we expand, we'll have other locations out there as well. For example, in our greater Philadelphia region, our goal is to expand there also. We've recently just hired a new regional expansion director for our region here. And our goal is to at least get 144 transactions in that, next year as well. So our totals, I'll tell you, hold on, right here.
Yeah, so I mean, you're going from 85 million to 100 million in your location, 80 million there. That's a $100 million increase. Plus, now you have another expansion, so you're growing through expansions.
For sure.
And this other expansion is what size?
Yeah, so ultimately our goal is to be about 40 million in just our greater Philadelphia region as well. So, all said and done, we hope to be somewhere around 550 units. I mean, there's a little bit of stretch goal outside of that, but I would say realistically, when I look at my internal production goals, what we have down right now is 544 units at a total of 200 million, 5.5 million in GCI, and a profit of 1.5 million at 37%. That's what the plan is, my internal plan. We always talk about, these big potential plans on, when I say like, okay, well, I'd love to get to Outer Banks up to 200 transactions at average sales price of 480 million. Well, that's true, but there's going to be a lot of growth in that. So if I just said right now, hey, what's realistically going to happen there? If everything happened the same as it does this year, then it's going to be, say, 125 transactions, about 50 million, right? Or maybe 60 million, because that's where they're at now. So there's a little bit of stretch, but ultimately when I look at my numbers internally based upon, our budgets and expectations, this is what I expect: 544 units at 200 million next year, 5.5 million GCI, and more importantly, $1.5 million in profit.
Okay, very exciting. So KW has always had this expansion team philosophy. I know several who have had success with it. I also know people who have struggled with it. So what is the key to success if you're going to do these expansion teams? I mean, how do you and Scott, how do you manage a team that's not in your state? I mean, how do you do that? How do you know their numbers?
Yeah.
How do you hold them accountable? All that kind of stuff.
So it's a little, so it's a little different. I mean, one is with regards to this recent acquisition, it's an independent company, right? So it's been on its own. They're individual agents. It's a regular brokerage, right? So it's not even in effect like you and I know as like a real estate team. They're just individual agents. It's a brokerage, right? So that's a little different because we came in and we we took them on for us, and now we're empowering them and supporting them, and we're giving them a lot of the tools and the coaching and training. But a lot of these people, like, the agents there, they've never been involved in any of that, right? Because they've always just been solo agents. So that in itself is a little bit different at the moment. I think it's going to change. What we're looking to do down there is take a lot of those agents that are give me one second. Excuse me. One of the things we want to do down there is go into that group and say, okay, of this core group here, or get a core group of there who really wants to kind of be on the Quintin Group side and really plug into us and get real coaching, mentoring, training at a higher level, right? So kind of have 2 teams within that large brokerage. Then we're going to go out and recruit to it as well and have that group in that's kind of be more of a core group inside that's going to plug into us. So we're going to have kind of 2 things going on. I think we'll have a independent normal agents doing their things, and then inside it we'll have more of a team feel, right? Kind of just like our other expansion partners in other locations. That's more of a team feel. So ultimately taking what we have here at our hub and then just expanding with another person or another location with 2 or 3 or 4, in this case, maybe 5 or 10 agents of the core group. Now, how do we do it? It all starts with the hub, right? It all starts at being in the home, having a very solid foundation to lead with. So, we have the ability to go out as our value proposition into an agent, let's say in Utah or Florida or wherever we're going to go, and ultimately go to them and say, hey, look, we want to expand with you, and here's what we're going to provide you. And ultimately, our goal is to be able to remove everything off of that agent's plate, right? So the 80% of things they shouldn't be doing, to keep them in their top 20% activities at all times. So we're going to then remove everything off their plate. What I mean by that is everything from all their contract management. So us preparing the contract for them, whether it's a listing contract, listing agreement, or a contract for sale, we're going to do that for them. Getting it docu-signed to the client and coordinating that signatures, by e-signature, we're going to do that. When a listing contract comes back and it's signed, coordinating the photographer in the lockbox, coordinating all that for them, or having us go ahead and handle it for them. Getting it uploaded in the MLS, handling the seller feedback, right? Getting the extra documents, all the stuff that agent doesn't want to do, that's going to bog them down. We will get it and take care of it for them. A buyer goes under contract or seller, contract to close, negotiate the inspections, order the home inspection, order the insurances, title. We want to do all that. We will take all that off of them. Then at the same time, we're going to then, since we're now going to take all that off of their plate, there's a lot of time freed up. Now we're going to give them a system. We're going to give them tools. We're going to give them resources that we have, plug them into all the things that we've got going on, and then coach them and train them and have them plugged into all the things we're doing. And what we have each day is and I know I'm just going on and on, but you say, how do we do it? We do it in such that we have to get these agents to plug in, and we're doing them by every day having a huddle call with them, right? So we hear from them every single day if they're in a different location. We have on Mondays, we have a script training for Mondays and Wednesdays, script training practice, where we have a script master class. 3 o'clock on a Monday, also I do a coaching call for the entire company. Then we have a Zoom call, Zoom team meeting like today on Tuesday. And we have a Mevo camera, so we can live stream in to our Facebook group. So they can either watch it through Zoom, or they can go to our Facebook private group and watch it live stream from there. Then we have our 411 with them every single week. So when we lead an agent from afar, we're hearing from them every single day. They're plugging into training twice a day or 3 times even by camera. And then they're doing a 411 with us. So at least 4 times a week, we're having direct conversation like this or over the phone.
Okay.
So they're completely plugged in all the time.
So 411, for those who are not KW backgrounds, what is a 411?
So very simple. I mean, basically you have your 1-year goal, and then we break that down to a 1-month goal and then a 4-week goal. So every week we set basically goals of 3 business goals and 3 personal goals. So if we have, 1 week goal and then that 1 month goal that leads up to your 1-year goal. So it's 4 weeks, 1 month, 1 year. And then, so we have those conversations with the agents about this week, what were your 3 business plan or 3 business goals, and what are your 3 personal goals? So we zone in on those 3 things. Next week, our conversation is, hey, last week we looked at your 411 and you said your 3 business goals were X, Y, and Z. How'd you do? Did you complete X, Y, Z? What did you do? How did it go? What happened? If you didn't, okay, then why? What has to happen to make sure we move that forward? And if it wasn't, if X didn't get done, Do we need to push it to the following week, right? Personal goals. Okay, so what do you want to happen there in your personal goals? Well, I want to do, I want to, I don't know, I want to clean my garage. I want to throw out all my old clothes. I don't know, whatever it is right now, right? Like I want to go on a date with my wife, right? I want to go to the gym 5 days, whatever that may be. Okay, good. Your personal goals. Did this happen? Boom. So that's what we do every week there too. Just move them forward.
Great way to manage a business, whether it's a real estate business or any type of business. I love that. I discovered that about 5 years ago and have loved it ever since. Plugging in, you've talked about plugging in to your coaching, to your accountability. What are some of the tools you're using to really run your businesses?
One of the greatest one for accountability is your product. I mean, obviously, Sisu. I mean, it's been incredible. I mean, just to let you know how that we work with that. That's easy for us. Is every day what we require, and it's an automatic text that goes out at 5 o'clock. Is our agents have to they have it on their app on their phone, but basically, as you can see, we have all the dials that we have. They're custom that basically require them to record their numbers for the day. From conversations to hours prospected to appointments set, listings under contract, buyers written, contracts written, everything up to how many 5-star reviews they got or whatever it may be. Everything's tracked, and it's very simple. They just do a plus or minus on everything here. But we require our agents to do that every day. So 5 o'clock, they get a text comes through that says, don't forget, report your CISO numbers. And basically, we record all that information. Now, for us, again, not only we want them to give us their numbers and plug in, but at the same time as they're plugging in, this becomes accountability for them. So the moment they don't plug in, or the moment they don't report their numbers, so by the next morning, if we look up and we didn't get the numbers from an agent, well, then there's accountability here. And accountability for them on our team is they get shut out of our CRMs, right? So all where their leads live, all where they store all their stuff, they get turned off. They have no access. Number one. Number two, they have no access to our admin staff. So all the services we provide, they're done for the day. You want a contract done? You go do it yourself until they report their numbers and get clean with their numbers, and then we'll free them up. They'll be released back into their CRM the next day. So that's what we do. Is it extreme? I don't know. Sometimes it has to be, because I can't manage a business without I can see the metrics and the numbers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the part of the value of being on a team is to have you there as a leader and to provide the leads and the coaching and walking contract to close, right? And getting that all done. If you don't have the data, you can't do that. So yeah, I think that's great. I haven't seen a lot of teams cut people off from leads like that. I have seen a few, and I think it's very effective. It's a great way to go. So on the CRM side, what about some of the things you're doing there? I know you were telling me about a company called Contact Stash that you actually formed. Tell everyone about that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Contact Stash is a very simple, I would call it a CRM. It's a basic CRM. It's the management of your database, but it's very, very simple and very inexpensive. And what the question I was asking a lot of agents, and I even had it too. So for example, for many years, we still have it too, and it acts as a very large address book right now anymore, is Top Producer, right? Almost every agent we all know had Top Producer probably at one time. And Top Producer itself, we would have a name, address, phone number, and address in there and put them in there, and it would collect basically an address book. And then inside of that, you could actually set up where you could tag every contact as a certain one, and then it would be able to send a rotation to you. But it became clunky, right? It wouldn't know to, okay, well, if I needed to contact this person every 30 days, it doesn't know that, okay, if the 30th if today it's a Sunday, and then 30 days out was the 15th was a Sunday today, it would do the 15th the next month, but that could be a Saturday, right? But maybe you're not working that day. So long story short, it wasn't jiving for us as much as it seemed to be. It always had to manipulate. So I'd say to agents, I'd say to them, I'd say, hey, look, tell me this. Do you have a database? I say, yes, good. Do you have a systematic way that your database tells you who you need to call every single day? Like it just shows up and says, call this person. And they're like, well, no, or maybe they say yes. Well, I can do it in Sync. I can do it in Boomtown. I said, fine. So what do you have to do though? You have to go inside the calendar and you have to mark it, and then it shows up on a dashboard, and then you have to go to your reminders, and there's a lot of stuff. And there are CRMs, all of our CRMs have the ability to do this, but it became very like, first of all, you have to go buy that CRM to get inside and work it, right? So a platform of $1,500 a month or whatever. So anyway, I said, Context Dash is this, basically. It's a way that you just take your contacts in an Excel form, very basic. And let's assume that we'll use a basic number of 100 contacts. 100 contacts is my database. These are people that I've met. Maybe it's people I haven't met, but let's call it people that you've met, 100 people. And of that 100, let's say that of those, you're going to call that you have 10 of those are your VIP clients, meaning they're like your people. Like they love you, like you, trust you. You know you can do business with them. They're not going to do business with anybody else. They're super loyal, and you can get referrals from them. They're like my people. Well, what we call is what we call is an A client. Put in the A bucket A. I think that person you want to call every 30 days, right? So 10 people you're going to call every 30 days. Now your next list, you have 90 left over of your 100. Let's say the next list you have out of that are people that love you, like you, trust you, but they're not going to be 100% loyal. They're loyal, but they're just, you're not going to always do business with them. You know that you're not always going to get a referral, but you want to stay in touch with them. They're like really good, solid clients. Well, those you want to call every 90 days, right? Every once a quarter. And once a quarter is if you're calling and lead generating and prospecting, 20 days a month or Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, that means every 60th business day, which is once a quarter. So that would be your B client. So we have A client, 30 days, B client every 60th business day or every 90 days, once a quarter. And that would be, let's say you had 80 of those, right? So then that would go in that one. And the next one is the other 10, which is left over. And let's say these are what we call the C client. Somebody that, maybe they sold a house here with you and then they moved out of the area. And there's probably not a lot of business right now, but you want to stay in touch just to let them know you're still in the business. Maybe someday they'll come back or give you a referral. You call them twice a year. They're your C client. So it's A, B, and C, 30 days every quarter, 90 days, twice a year, 6 months. That's the CRM. You basically have an Excel sheet, all the names up top. You just basically your A's, your B's, and your C's, sort it that way, upload it. And then every single day, what happens is it delivers to your inbox, in your email inbox, straight to your inbox. And the first thing in the morning, whatever time, it says, here's who you need to call today. And it just lists all the way down their names, their mobile phone number, contact information, and that's it. And then you just hit on it, complete. If it's completed, then it automatically, the system will then send it in its rotation on when they need to show up in your inbox again. If you want to hit skip, you hit skip. And then if it hits skip, it's going to become overdue, and it'll just pile up until you're completed. That's it, man. Now,
okay,
if you want to hit it, go ahead.
Is it calculated? I mean, are you saying this entire list is complete, or are you doing that on a per individual uses?
Per individual, yeah. Once you call them, once you've contacted them, hit complete, then it's complete that you've contacted them.
Okay.
And then it has profile. You hit profile, and if you hit profile, then you can go inside the CRM, and it gives you, all the information where you can put notes in, and you can do all kinds of different things inside of it. Then you have to actually log in from there.
Okay, so it's a simple form of making sure you're doing your contacts every day. Is that something that your people, is that the first phone call they make every day, or those phone calls, or
typically,
or are they doing expireds or something like that? Typically it's this.
Well, yes and no. So our team is very aggressive on expireds and for sale by owners, which are delivered to them each day as well. Not in this format, but yes, they get delivered their database of past clients that have influenced importance, and then expireds. If there's a heavy expired day, some of our guys will call expireds first.
Okay.
Others aren't as aggressive. They'll call their past clients, and some just work their past clients, and then maybe they'll pepper in the expireds later on.
Yeah.
But but they're definitely calling through their most important list. I mean,
Okay.
database, it's just a very simple way that just brings clarity of who you need to call, and it's dummy proof once you put them in there. It just comes, it's going to remind you that you stay in touch.
Great. Okay. So to get that, it's Contact Stash. Go to contactstash.com. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. Contactstash.com.
Okay.
Take a look. $49 a month.
Stash is spelled like the mustache.
Yep, just like a mustache. Yep.
Okay. Okay, great. What other advice would you have for a team owner? I mean, you're going this year from, 230 up to 500. What other advice would you have for somebody looking to grow their team, looking to grow their business, looking to get into other areas and find new ways to make additional income streams and to build wealth?
I guess, my advice, first of all, I mean, I'm doing it a long time, so I've got experience, which is cool, but I still haven't figured it all out. You know what I mean? So, I think we're all still, it looks nice and cool from the outside, but behind the scenes is very messy, and we're still grinding through and figuring some things out, right? So, but I think that you're solid there's a couple things. You got to have a solid foundation of your administrative staff and your value proposition that you can bring other agents. What is the question I say is, what is the problem right now that I'm solving for agents? And if I can solve some problems and bring them some solutions to make their lives better, easier, more productive, have them earn more money, and be able to figure that out, that's, I think, where the growth is going to happen. I think teams aren't going away. I think teams are getting larger. I think teams are getting bigger and better and faster than individual agents. The individual agent, unfortunately, is tough. It's tough to survive right now. Brand new in this business or being an individual agent, it's just harder and harder. But any of the advice I say is really make sure that your hub business or your back end foundation is super strong, and that you have a very clear value proposition. The question is that, is what would get me to leave my own team to go work for somebody, right? And that's the question I think is that most team members need to say is what will get themselves to leave to go work for someone else, and then be that person or be that value that you need to provide for your team. That's going to attract, that's going to give those other agents to work with you. But understanding your value proposition, and each team has a different value proposition. Ours is going to be at our hub is going to be probably a lower split with very high value. Others are going to be, very high value, or excuse me, a very high split with lower value, right? Like they're not going to provide all the things that we provide. We remove everything off the agent's plate, I'm telling you, and give them all the tools and everything along the way. So all they got to do, there's 4 things. They're going to prospect each day. They're going to lead follow-up each day. They're going to go on appointments, and they're going to negotiate their deals. Anything outside of that, we don't want them doing.
Great.
We call that the plan, right?
They're focused on sales, only sales.
Yep. And so that's our market. That's us. You know what I mean? So, I think that advice is to get clear on what that is for that team, for that team owner, what you want to provide.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. Tell me what it's like being part of Gary Keller's mastermind. I know most team owners, especially at your level, are in multiple masterminds. And I think most listening to this have been in many masterminds. What's Gary Keller's mastermind like? I think a lot of people might ask that question. Sure.
No, it's a great question. First, I'm very fortunate and honored to be able to be part of that group and to be in that room. It's awesome. It's interesting. I mean, anytime that we can spend some close time around someone like Gary and really understand the way he thinks, his philosophies, his concepts, the way he makes decisions, pick his brain on certain ideas is always been good. What's cool is you see when you're in that room, the mistakes that Gary's made, and everyone looks at Gary like he's perfect. Well, he's been there, done that, right? He's been there, done what we all want to do, and has done it at a very high level. And he's had some issues or bumps along the way, which is cool to listen to, because you're like, gosh, I'm experiencing the same thing. Now I know I'm actually doing the right thing because he's experienced it, and reminds you that, okay, maybe I'm on the right track, because so many times we're sitting there looking at ourselves going, dude, I mean, shit, am I doing the right thing? This sucks. Or this isn't working, or I'm beating my head against the wall. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's just part of it. And you actually, because of that feeling, you're actually in the right direction. And so being in that room, you're able to see that sometimes and say, wow, he experienced this, or other people in the room are experiencing very much what I am. And yet it's a reason why. It's part of the growth. It's part of that hockey stick curve or whatever's going on. So it's interesting. I mean, I've been fortunate enough. I was part of Gary's pirate group too, with a very small amount of us, maybe 20 of us for maybe 2 years or so when I first came over, and that's kind of dissolved out a little bit. And those guys in that room were just absolutely incredible. Especially they were on the cutting edge of expansion. And these guys are expanding 6 years ago, before expansion really started. They kind of were the pirates, really, the group that Gary kind of said to them, here's the deal, man. I want you guys to go out and expand. I want you to go out and do it. I want you to go out and figure it out. I want you to fall down on your face. I want you to figure it out and come back and tell us what worked, what didn't work. and break it and come back and fix it and break it again and all that. So that's the kind of some of the conversations that we've had, about business and about what's working and what's not. And you collaborate together at a very high level. So
it sounds like Gary really created his expansion model through this mastermind or in conjunction with this mastermind. Is that right?
Yeah. For a lot of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I'm on the back end of that. Like, I got in there a little late to the game, late to the party. A couple other guys had already been doing it for a long time. And so they all, a lot of them, had made some mistakes. And, I've been able to, I have a long way to go. Some of these guys are just, they're way ahead of me, light years, but I've seen some of the mistakes that they made, or that not so much mistakes, but learning things that they did or they would have done differently. So that's the nice part, is you're able to come in and say, hey, what did you learn out of it? If you're doing it over again, what would you have done? And then just go do what they would have done versus having to go do what they did first. And then, having to go through that challenge. So
yeah. Spring was invited into the mastermind this year, to Gary's mastermind. She went in and shared with me this. I still remember this very clearly, because I thought it was just great advice. But Gary, basically, the thing that stuck out for her is he basically said, hey, I'm no different than any of you guys. I just think bigger than you guys.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you remember that?
100%.
I'm sure you were at that event. So anyway, I just think that's some great advice, is, just think at a different level, and you can do things at a different level, right?
Think big, aim high. I mean, I stole that too, because, everything Gary says, we try to steal it and regurgitate it and act like we actually said it. So I came back to my team and kind of said the same thing to them. It's the only difference between me and you, which is true. It's just, is what it is. But no, his level of thinking is very much at a whole different level. So having that exposure is important. It's incredible. And that room's incredible. I mean, this mastermind group now, Spring tell you, I mean, there's two groups now, but I mean, we're talking about between the two of them, there's probably close to 300 agents now, total. There's a lot.
Right.
I was going to say competition, but your peers, it's a room when you look around, there's some amazing talent in there, and amazing business owners. And you're just like, man, I got to step my game up.
Right.
Look left and right of you about what some of these people are doing. It's incredible.
So Jeff, obviously that's a great source of learning. What are some other great sources of learning that have been great for you, or what are a few or one of your favorite books that you feel like this is something everybody must read?
I'm big on podcasts right now at the moment. I'm reading books. I'm a big audiobook person. I don't read as much physical books. Book wise, I mean, as a team, we're doing fanatical prospecting for a second time right now. That's where I want everybody to be focused on going in the next year and getting jazzed up about that. Podcasts, I'm in and out of probably 5 or 6 different podcasts all the time. From How I Built This, which is one of the greatest podcasts, because I just like learning about how big business is built and what they've done, and listening to Gary's How I Think Like a CEO podcast right now. I've been on Tim Ferriss, because Gary was just on. I don't know if you heard that interview yet.
I did.
Awesome.
Tim Ferriss is a great podcast. I would recommend that to anybody. Yeah.
So I've been on his, because I used to be on it a long time, and Gary came on. I've been re-listening some of those. There's, I don't know, let me just take a look in here right now. Who I've been listening to, but I mean, the podcasts have been good for me. So one of the things that I do, in the morning is I spend probably a good half hour, maybe to 45 minutes listening to podcasts. When I get ready for work, right? When I get ready and dressed, I listen to podcasts. That's all I do. Like, I literally take my phone and I put it in the shower, right? And because by yourself. Most people are by themselves, right? So I spend time like that, and that's when my wife knows, like, stay out of the bathroom, the kids out of the bathroom. I mean, like, this is my time. I have the next, 15 minutes to take a shower, 20 minutes, whatever. And so I put the phone in the shower. It's my little place that I get to listen to. And when I go get dressed, I get dressed in my closet, right? Basically. And I put my phone up where my shoes are. And I mean, I listen. So I spend that good half hour, or maybe more of that's my time to listen. Whether it's an audiobook or any of the podcasts out there. I listen to, Ed Milet's, I listen to Tom Ferry. I listen to Greg House's Level Up. John Waxell, I listened to a lot of that on leadership. MFCEO Project had their last episode the other day. There's a bunch of them,
Yeah, that's great. I think there's some real benefits to listening versus reading. I mean, it's great to read. However, listening is something you can do in drive time, something I personally do every morning when I work out. So I think it's just important that we're always learning. So thanks for sharing that, Jeff. I think that's some really valuable stuff. And I think you're the only person who's told me that they actually do that in the shower. So I love it.
I'm a freak, I guess, but I tell a story too, like with regards to the shower, right? So, we're real big in our office, and just like Spring is, I mean, we're very prospecting based, right? And we work on scripts all the time. And I mentioned to you earlier, I teach a script master class. So, one of the things that I recommend everybody does is obviously they record all their scripts, like do audio memo, right? Record it. And they go through and they record in their own voice the scripts, and then go back and listen to it. So, I tell everybody, listen to it. Like literally take 20 minutes of your day, whatever, re-listen to your own voice, put it in the shower. Right? If there's any time, you can't tell me there's nobody around, right? Like this is your time. Don't tell me you don't have time. That's when you can make time up. Number one. Number two is, years ago when I first learning scripts, what I did was I took the script, right? I took the script, I laminated it, and then those things you put on a refrigerator, it's just a suction cup with a hook.
Yeah.
I hooked them all, and I put hooks in the shower against the tile wall. I put my damn scripts up in there, right? And what did I do taking a shower? I chanted and read my scripts every day, and I role played and practiced and scripts while I'm in the shower. Like I've made that 20 minutes to a half hour of my day of just bombarding my head with education, whatever it is.
Are there certain scripts that you recommend? Are you a Mike Ferry guy, Tom Ferry? What do you recommend? I mean, what's worked best for you and your team?
Well, it's always, look, all the scripts have come back to Mike Ferry, right? That's where they all pretty much almost all originated, or at least before that, maybe even Fluid Whip and Sweat Hogs back in the day. But yeah, Mike Ferry scripted more or less. And then that's evolved. And Tom developed all Mike Ferry's stuff with Matt. And then, but more or less Mike's stuff. And then Mike's, went into the bold scripts, which are very similar. So that's what basically it's a Mike Ferry script.
Okay. So yeah. You say that you do script and role play training. Is that something that somebody like me or some of these team owners could say, hey, I want to be a part of that? And
for sure,
you would bring outside people into that? Or is this just something you do with your own team?
All the time. No. We actually I have a lot of different agents that come in on Mondays East Coast time at 12 o'clock. I'm sorry, back it up. Mondays at 12:30 East Coast time, and then Wednesdays at 12 o'clock East Coast time, we do our script master class. We'll be restarting it back up after the first of the year because we pretty much got to the end. We got about 2 more scripts to learn, like extra scripts, but the main scripts just ended. And basically what we do is we spend, it's an hour, and I put it on, I Zoom in, either Zoom, so there's a Zoom link. Someone can email me, get the Zoom link, or they go to our Quintin Group page. It's a private page, so I'll have to let them come in, and they could live stream right there too.
Do people pay for this, or
no?
Just something you offer? Okay,
they can just join.
So
they can pay me. Sure, they want to pay me, I'm in.
Tell everyone how to get a hold of you. I know for a fact some agents personally who are going to want to participate in this.
Sure. Easiest way is to email me, or they can always Facebook message me too, but email me is easiest. And that's Jeff, Jeff, at the Quintin Group, TheQuintin group.com, Jeff at thequintingroup.com. If they email me, then I can get them all hooked up on that kind of stuff. Really.
Okay, Jeff. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. Great lessons. It's always great hearing from some of the best, and thank you for participating in our show.
Of course, anytime. It's an honor to be here. Thanks, Brian.
All right, thanks.
So there you have it. Thank you for joining us on our podcast. If you have an interest in a free 7-day trial of Sisu, make sure that you use the coupon GRIT, that's GRIT, to waive all your setup fees and receive a 10% discount on your subscription. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and want to subscribe, search GRIT, the Real Estate Growth Mindset Podcast, on iTunes. And with that, we'll catch you next time. Take care.